recording then.
I was muted, sorry. So the first thing that's going to happen when your child comes to school will actually happen hopefully before you come to school. You will be getting a screener that you need to take and answer 3 questions. Teachers do it every day that they're in the building, and you will answer these questions. We are going to have a QR code for you on your car rider plate. And we will have a QR coder on the tag that we will give your children of how they go home. And we're going to attach that to their book bags. So you can QR code that, or you could put it in like a home screen bookmark it. Answer those 3 questions. And then they are going to ask you if you've answered those. They may ask for to see the green check mark that you have confirmed before your child gets out of the car. So that will happen every day when they come to school. And then once they are here, they'll have their temperature checked before they get out of the car to make sure that they have a temperature below 101.4. Also for the on the buses, they are going to be taking, there's a attest, I don't know if I'm not sure if I'm saying it, addition form. You have to hand that to the bus driver when the first day that they come to school of the week. So if their first day is Thursday, then they would give it to them Thursday. If it's Monday, you'll give it to them on Monday. And then they will also then get checked when they get to the school as well for their temperature. Any questions about those? No?
Okay, so for arrival, as Mrs. Reese just stated, temperature checks will be done as students get off both the bus and out of their car. The most important thing is labeling your student's backpack. We will provide a transportation tag once your child is at school to put on their backpack, but it's very important that if you will please label your child's backpack, not only with their name, but with their teacher's name and their classroom number. I know everybody's teacher sent home a notice yesterday that included your child's classroom number. So please make sure that you have your teacher's name and classroom number. That way, when your child comes to school, their first day, it'll be easier for people who are stationed throughout the building to help them find their classroom. Just in case, your student sort of forgets their teacher's name, then it'll be labeled right there on their backpack and somebody in the building can help them find their way. And if you're a carpenter student, make sure you put E carpenter because there is another carpenter in our building. Also, students will have the opportunity to grab a breakfast every morning. It's grab and go. They'll just pick up a bag and bring it right to the classroom with them. Breakfast is still free for all students. Once they get to the classroom, they will first and foremost, everyone will wash their hands, and then they will go to their assigned seats and they can begin either eating their breakfast if they grabbed a breakfast, or they'll begin their morning work. And again, there'll be staff stationed throughout the hallways to help students find their correct classroom. If you have older students, they are welcomed to walk their younger siblings to their classrooms, just to make sure, that they're getting to the right place. And then there is tape throughout the building. They're like yellow squares to show students the social distance of 6 feet apart to help them maintain that. And then we will have snack every day. In first grade, our snack is about 10 a.m. We ask that you please provide a semi-healthy snack, just no candy or sweets. I know that especially that's hard considering Halloween is this weekend, but please try to keep the candy for home. And please, the most important thing is to bring a water bottle each day. We will be able to refill their water bottles in the cafeteria. We have a touchless refill station there. Our water fountains are not going to be used this year. They are all covered up. So it is very important you provide your child with a water bottle because they will not have the opportunity to use the water fountains. And again, please make sure it's water, no soda, sports drinks, juices. Especially the reason for that is if we have a spill in the classroom, then it's automatic ants and bugs and all sorts of disasters in the classroom. And I think that's it for the snack and water.
Okay, so for lunch, students can bring their own lunch or they can get a hot lunch. Lunch is free through the end of December, but there will only be one entree option a day, unlike in the past where students could kind of pick what they wanted. So we do have a menu. I put it on the side of the slide and it was also in the email we sent out yesterday. So if you want, your child can look at the days that they're in school and decide whether they want to get a hot lunch or to bring their own lunch from home. We will visit the cafeteria each day as a class. So we'll all go down to it. Anyone that wants to get lunch can grab it. Anyone that wants to refill their water bottle will have time to do that. And then we'll all walk back together and either eat in the classroom or we'll eat outside if it's nice out. If it is nice out, we are considering having students bring a beach towel. So that way it can be like a little picnic and they don't have to sit directly on the blacktop or the grass. So if you want to send your child the beach towel to school, that could help if we have any outside eating. Oh, I think you're on mute, Miss Ensley.
Just a note about the lunch menu that we sent out yesterday. If you tried to access that and could not, we have fixed the permissions on that. So if you click on that link now, you should be able to see it. It will also go out into our newsletter this afternoon.
And then right after lunch, we'll be having recess. Recess, if the weather is nice, will be outdoors and it will be socially distanced. Students will not be using the playground equipment at this time, and there will also be no sharing of equipment between kids. So we won't be sharing like basketballs or jump ropes or anything like that. There are going to be different zones for recess. So there'll be areas like the blacktop, by the oak tree, the fun run area, and each zone or area will only have one class in there at a time. And during that time, teachers will help facilitate different games and movement activities for the class to play.
We have a question in the chat box. If a parent sends a beach towel to school with their kids, does that need to go back and forth every day, or is that something that can stay at school?
I can answer that question. It's going to be based on whether it's really dirty. If it gets spilled on or anything, and I'm just going to do a check before the end of a day to see if it has to go back and forth to get a new one. So that's how I was going to handle that in my class.
And we have another question. During recess, will masks have to be worn?
So that will be depending on the activities we do. So if they are socially distanced at 6 feet apart, they will be able to take off their mask. But depending on the games that we do, they might be able to keep them on. So it'll be kind of sometimes not, but they will definitely be able to have a break during that time as long as they are 6 feet away from other children.
We kind of discussed too, it depends, like Miss Mundy said, on the game, but if they're exerting a lot of physical activity, like a lot of
running and jumping,
then we will definitely make sure that we have an opportunity for them to distance, take off that mask, kind of cool down, those kinds of things. We want them to be able to breathe effectively, and that's something that coach is working through with PE as well. Any other questions? We've thrown a lot of information at you guys so far. You're welcome to unmute and ask or type it in the chat box.
Is this me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just checking. Thanks. Okay, so at the end of the day, we have two options for how students can go home at this time. They will either be a bus rider or a car rider. We're not doing walkers or bike riders right now until we get further notice. You should have already been in touch with your teacher to let them know how your student is going home. And the plan is that every day Mrs. Lefevre will be walking around to pick up our car riders from each first grade teacher, and she will walk them to the gym where they'll be dismissed from there as you come through the car rider line. And then all bus riders always get walked out by their teachers to the buses. And then there's one more slide. So for car riders, if your child is an afternoon car rider, you're going to need a car line number. A lot of you have them from last year. If you do, you're still going to use the same number. I believe they're going to give you some new flips this year, the blue cards to put in your front windshield, and your teachers already have those. So they'll be sending those home on the first day that your student's here next week. Oh, thank you, Miss Ensley. So they look like that. Just put those in your front dash as you're coming through the car rider line. And if you are carpooling or picking up more than one student, I did find out it's okay to put both numbers in your front dash as long as you have the other car rider number. They will let you do that as you come through in the afternoon. And your car line, your number is going to stay the same like the whole entire time you're at Grand Oak. So all the way from kindergarten to 5th grade, you'll have the same number. If you do not have a number and you need one, there was a link to a form that you need to fill out. It was in yesterday's email from your teacher, and you'll need to fill that out and then email it to Miss Wanda Johnson in the front office, and then she will get us your numbers to send home.
We have a question about lunch in the chat. Are there any restrictions on peanut products being brought for lunch?
Teachers, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this grade level does not have any airborne peanut allergies this year. And if you have a peanut cluster, please speak up. But because of that, and since we'll be socially distanced in our classrooms during lunch, peanut products will be fine. We will do sanitation after we eat regardless. So any of the residue will be cleaned up, and then we're doing hand washing too. So peanut products at this time are safe as long as everybody knows that their classroom's good with no airborne.
We have another question about masks. It says, what if you prefer students keep their mask on at all time if you are willing to supply a change if soiled?
Great question. I think that we're definitely going to encourage students to keep their masks on at all times, except for that recess when they're exerting a lot of physical activity, or if they're very socially distanced outside and we're giving them a mask break. If you could just make that expectation clear with your child and with your teacher, so that we know that the child needs to keep that on. And then we would love for you to supply an extra just in a Ziploc baggie in their backpack in case there's some kind of soiling issue. I have seen it happen with my own little guy. He has sneezed in his mask at school and needed a change of a mask. So it's great to have an extra on hand. We will say your students will receive a packet of 5 masks to come home. We do think that these masks are a little big, so they might have to be tied. You will be provided 5 masks on the first day they attend so that they can keep at home. The other thing that they will be provided with is a lanyard that you can clip your mask onto. So they'll put this around their neck, and then that way their mask hangs down. We're hoping that that prevents it from getting as dirty, falling on the floor, etc. While we're eating lunch. So please just, if you do have a mask expectation, make that known with your teacher, but also reinforce it with your student. That way, if as a teacher we say, oh, boys and girls, I'm noticing that we're plenty of distance apart outside, you can go ahead and take off your masks while we're reading out on our picnic blanket or whatnot, your child just knows that it's your family's expectation that they keep it on.
I wanted to add to just to make sure that your student knows how they're going home on the first day, because that's something that we check with them in the morning when they come in, just to make sure that we're on the same page as them. So please make sure your kid knows whether they're a car rider or a bus rider in the afternoon.
We have another question about car riders and bus riders. Will parents have the flexibility to switch between a car rider and a bus rider depending on parent work schedule and other factors?
Yes. Yes, parents always have that flexibility. The main thing is to be sure you always call the office if you have a change, especially if your change is that day, because the office will always call the teacher to let the teacher know of the change. So yes, changes can happen even, the day of. If a child's normally a car rider and all of a sudden that day you need them to be a bus rider, it's just, you have to definitely call the office. Don't rely on emailing the teacher, because we don't always can check our emails during the day. So the main thing is that you call the office when you have a transportation change, because they'll make sure that we find out.
And just one note about that, please make sure you provide, if your child has never ridden the bus, but your child needs to all of a sudden start riding the bus, please provide the school about 48 hours of notice for that, because Miss Allison in our main office has to give our transportation department a notification and make sure that we have the bus stop information and those kinds of things. So if you have a routine, like a couple days a week you're a car rider and a couple days a week you're a bus rider, and you start that from the get-go, that's perfectly fine. Your child's spot will still be saved on that bus. But if, say, mid-year, your family situation changes and all of a sudden your child needs to ride the bus, try to give the school a little bit of time to prepare for that. All right, we'll head on, but any other questions, please feel free to ask or put them in the chat.
Okay, so supplies, I know everybody received this in the email from your teachers, and this is really big to go over here. So the main thing about supplies is please label everything, even down to your child's pencils. Just because the main thing obviously is we're not sharing supplies this year. We don't have any community supplies. So everything needs to be labeled. And we know, unfortunately, it is going to be a lot for your little ones to carry between school and home. So please just, again, do your best. But the main thing is the labeling, because a lot of them, like the headphones, they all have the same headphones. So we definitely need their names on those. And when supplies do run out, make sure, like, try to pay attention to, like, if their pencils are starting to run low, make sure you refill those for us. That would be wonderful. And if you got the kits, I know I've had a lot of parents tell me that the kits, the edu kits that you ordered had a letter in them that said some of the supplies were missing. I wouldn't worry. I think the supply that was missing, they didn't know what supplies were missing. I think it was the wipes and stuff, but we have been provided with extra wipes and sanitizer. So we do have all of that. Teachers, if there's anything else that you think needs to be talked about, I didn't want to have to just read through all this.
No, I think we're good.
I think just one thing, we had originally had on there your math workbook.
Oh,
That's pretty bulky. Please leave that at home. We do not need it here at school.
and wish list. I know some teachers have already sent out their wish list, and some teachers will soon be sending out their wish list. This is just very helpful. These are items that we would love to have for our classroom, but obviously we don't have to have. But if parents are willing to donate, thank you very much. I know a lot of the wish list items this year are a little different because we can't just ask for one thing for the whole class to share. So it's sort of, I know yesterday when I was doing my wish list, I thought of like a jump rope, but we can't just have one. We have to have one for each student because we can't share items. So if you do purchase something for the class, you sort of have to think about now purchasing it as a class set. So each child has their own. Thank you in advance for anyone who does make classroom donations. Teachers greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Okay, and then here is a typical schedule of what it will look like when your student is in school during their in-school learning. And there was just a few things that I wanted to highlight and kind of talk about. The first is that when they're in school, our goal is to mainly have them be doing paper and pencil tasks because they will be doing all of their Canvas work remotely on those days that they're not in school. So our goal when they're in the classroom is to have as many activities as paper and pencil as possible. They will still be taking pictures of some of their work and uploading it to Canvas from their iPad, just so that as a teacher, I have all of their work for the kids that are at home and the kids that are in school in the same location. So, but for the most part, they will be completing activities that are pencil and paper. And then specials is a little bit different. So when students are in school, if they come to school Monday and Tuesday, they'll have a special on Monday, say PE, and then they'll have a special on Tuesday, say music. The kids that come Thursday or Friday will have the same special. They'll have PE and then music. And the following week, they'll have the other two specials that they didn't have the week before. So there will be no more Canvas assignments for students who come into school for specials. So if your kid comes to school Monday, Tuesday, and is remote Thursday, Friday, they do not have to complete Canvas work for specials on that Thursday and Friday. And then one other major change is we are going to be doing assessments in school now. So we won't be doing any of our math or spelling or module assessments during Zoom, or we will be having all the kids complete it either on their Monday and Tuesday when they're in school or on Thursday and Friday when they're in school. And if your student is one of the kids in the full remote academy, those will be done on our Wednesdays over Zoom. But if your kid comes to school at all, assessments will be taken in school.
And for our students who are at home, if they are in cohort A or cohort B, students will continue to do work in Canvas on the days that they are remote. The materials that are in the whole group instruction, so from 8:30 to 9, and then for math from 1:05 to 1:35, those will mimic the lessons that are in Canvas, so that students are exposed to it multiple times in multiple formats, since they're not in the classroom for us to reinforce it during workshop. With that is kind of a blessing that if the live instruction really works for your student and they understand the material during the live instruction, during these 2 whole group times, then they will not have to go and watch the videos in Canvas. They can just move directly to practices and activities. But if the live instruction is not working for your student, they're not getting a lot from that, or not understanding the material, or maybe you have a doctor's appointment and you guys had to miss the live instruction that day, then you can go into Canvas and still see the same lesson, so that the student is exposed to the same material and gets to still participate in the assignments. And then students will have opportunities for 2 live small groups that will be more catered to their individual needs. Originally, we were thinking that these small groups for all remote students were at the same time, but what we found out now, digging in more with our administration, is that there are 3 different opportunities for us to group students. That way we can really cater their group, their needs, or what skills they need to practice at that time. So they will join us at either 10:35, 11:05, or 11:35 for literacy small group. And then again at 1:40, 2 o'clock, and 2:40 for math small group. So they will only participate in 2 of those times listed here. So they will do their 2 whole group live instruction and 2 small group instruction via Zoom when we get started. A note about this: for the first 2 weeks, this remote portion of the live will be taught by two of our TAs, Mrs. Cook and Mrs. Lefebvre, so that we can get our feet on the ground with our students in the classroom. That way, students that are in the classroom aren't having to anticipate or wait on teachers as we're trying to learn procedures, while we're also trying to manage the technology side of Zooming in with students that are at home. So please be patient with us as we get this figured out. But those first 2 weeks will be taught by our TAs so that it will hopefully be more seamless for all students involved. And then students will not participate in specials when they are remote. The material from specials will be covered when they are here in person. And then just a life hack for this, help your student set alarms in his or her iPad. So we will continually send you the schedule of when your student will Zoom in. The 2 live instruction times will stay consistent, but the small group times, they may be a little flexible. We are trying as hard as we possibly can to keep them as consistent as possible. So we encourage you to set alarms in your student's iPad to help him or her know when they should log on. So if you do that just a couple moments before their group, then they should remember to get on Zoom. That's a lot of information. Please throw any questions at us. And then it's very similar for the full remote academy. So for our students who are completely remote and who will not be coming into the school building at all, they will follow this same schedule. They will have those 2 whole group live instruction lessons, and then they will have 2 opportunities, one for literacy and one for math, to Zoom in for small group, more catered to their needs. Full remote students will be invited to additional groups beginning the week of November 9th. More details on that will be coming soon. And that will probably be more focused on our Wednesday time, which Mrs. Reese will talk about in a moment. But full remote students will participate in specials on Canvas. However, there will not be a live component to Canvas, or to Canvas for them. So the special area teachers have uploaded instructional videos or stories and activities for them to do in Canvas if they are full remote. However, they will not be able to Zoom into the special area class. Just logistically, from a school perspective, picture, we could not figure out how to make that work. If you would like to opt in to full remote, say your family has some kind of extenuating circumstance and you would like your student to be fully remote for second semester, please email Mr. G prior to December 4th to opt in. Similarly, if you are full remote right now, just to cover our basis, you want to come back at semester, Mark, please email Mr. G and just let him know of your family's intentions to come back once the full remote period ends. And it would not hurt to CC your teacher on that, just so we know what to expect and to plan for when your student may or may not join us. And then full remote friends, please don't forget to pick up your child's supply bag in the lobby. It is there for you today and it's labeled with first grade. Any questions about full remote? All right.
Okay, so on Wednesday, everybody is going to be remote. So, but teachers will be being able to be reached on a Zoom. We will meet with the whole class at 8 o'clock to do our morning meeting. That is a time where we still make our social emotional connections with students, and we are also going to tell them what the expectations are for them to achieve during the day in their Canvas tasks. We will also then meet with, the teacher has the possibility to touch base with students that need it either on an individual basis or maybe do a small group to help support students based on where they're working. For the full remote students, they will be taking their assessments via Zoom with their teacher. And their teacher will let them know what time and when to come in for that. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, so for attendance, oh, I'm echoing. On days when a student is scheduled to come in for in-person learning, the student must attend school for at least half the day to be considered present. Students can only be considered present and not attend school on their scheduled days if they're at home for any reason due to COVID. So if you're supposed to be in school Monday, Tuesday, and you're not there, then you'll be considered absent. Or if you're there for half the day, you can be considered present. Students that are absent during in-person learning days will be expected to engage and complete the asynchronous tasks, so the work that's on Canvas, to make up for that day. So if they're not in school that day, they will want to do the Canvas work so that they're not missing the lessons. And then students who, so students when they're not in person and they're doing their remote learning days, if they don't come to Zoom or they don't do their Canvas work, they will be considered absent. So just as we've been doing, on the days that your students are not in school, they're expected to come to our Zooms and complete their Canvas work.
Now is the time for any questions. So any parents, please feel free to speak up and share any questions you may have. I know one of the questions I received in a private chat was, are there opportunities to drop students' items off to the school? I think each teacher is kind of arranging their own system for this, so please reach out to your teacher and they will share with you how they can get supplies from you. That way your students are not lugging in a massive suitcase to school when they first come next week. But parents, we really want this to be a time for you, so please speak up. Let us know what your nerves and fears are with us re-entering next week. Let us know kind of what your child's jitters are or what questions your family needs answered so that you all feel more comfortable. We're not used to a Zoom being this quiet. Well, we know that we have sent out a very long email yesterday, and our goal was that this information would mimic that information so that we could kind of reinforce it. But please don't hesitate to reach out to us and ask us any questions. We'll continue to kind of send those frequently asked questions out to families. And then we have our newsletter coming out this afternoon that will hopefully provide more clarity. Teachers, does anybody want to talk about specials really quickly? Especially you want all of your students to wear tennis shoes every day, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if the parents in my class know yet that my class is being divided with the other first grade classes for specials. So I'm not positive what day we have PE at any time. So I don't know if I can keep track of that. So my class probably always needs to wear sneakers if possible, or bring a pair in your backpack for the girls if you're not sure. But I believe the special area teachers are coming to our classrooms, correct? Except for mine.
Except for PE, yes. So,
except for PE.
One of the COVID precautions that they're taking, any singing that happens needs to happen outside, or it cannot happen within the classroom, just because of the, I guess, the force that you have pushing the particles through the air. So singing is one precaution that CMS has asked us to take. So first grades can be a little bit sad without lots of singing, but we're gonna make it fun anyway. And as far as specials go, whatever specials are Monday, Tuesday children receive, or Thursday, Friday children receive the same special. Media and STEM have been combined so that there are only 4 specials. So over a 2-week period, students will receive all 4 specials. So in example, this first week, my kids go to PE and STEM media, and then the next week they'll go to art and music. So there will be some consistency around that, and we will highlight those specials in our newsletter. The only caveat to that is Mrs. Finnerty's class, and I will say my class last year was the class that was dispersed, and your kids will get really good about knowing where they go and when, as long as our schedule stays the same for a while. So, my kids could tell me what special they had when. I would have to go look at the schedule. So, any questions?
I have a question. I'm kind of confused on the specials for Mrs. Finnerty. So is it just PE that's a question mark, or is it
let me pull up, it's all specials that are question marks. So
Okay.
a portion like, a portion of Mrs. Finnerty's class will be,
Yeah, I'm trying to
Um,
get my schedule too, so.
Mrs. Finnerty, is it on my screen? Is this the same one that you were looking for?
Yes.
So a portion of Mrs. Finnerty's class will go with Miss Mundy, their Monday and Tuesday groups. A portion of them will go with Mrs. Reese and a portion of them will go with Mrs. Carpenter. And then their Thursday, Friday groups, a portion of them will come with me and a portion of them will go with Mrs. Reese. And so they will have the special of whatever this teacher is.
And it'll be my job to walk them to those teachers and drop them off with those classes. So it's not anything that you guys have to keep track of. I don't know the teachers. I guess I could look at their schedules, but
It's a
Okay.
lot of,
A
because
lot
we
of
are,
schedules to follow.
it is a lot to follow because we have what's called Blue Week, where we will have specific specials, and Green Week, where we will have specific specials. And then there's this extra dispersal list. So what we're going to try to do as a team is kind of flush through that and make it more manageable for the kids and the parents to know. Like last year when my kids were dispersed, like we had to come up with like an individual schedule for each kid. But in the meantime, before we are able to kind of do that and figure that out as a team, we just ask that Mrs. Finnerty's kids wear tennis shoes every day so that they're prepared should they have PE as we get it all fleshed out.
Okay, then the only negative I see with that, and it shouldn't be a major concern, is that there is more exposure then, because they will then be with other classes. But
Yep.
I guess
We-
there's nothing.
We had that question too. We went to administration with that. And one of the things that Mr. G asked us to prepare in our classrooms is additional spots for those kids so that when they do join us, they have a specific spot that is socially distanced from, the other students. And he said, he's talked to those special area teachers to try to make sure that cross-contamination, without those kids feeling isolated, cross-contamination does not happen as much as possible. So
Okay, yeah,
we
I
should-
figured you'd be taking all the precautions. I was just.
we shared that
different,
same concern.
Mhm.
We certainly did. So
Thank you.
it's interesting when you look at the school schedule, like from a 30,000 feet view and zoom out, it's a bunch of little tiny moving pieces. And I think that special area teachers, they had to do it for accommodating some other grade levels in their classes too. So it was a mess.
Sure, I can imagine. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things to say about PE too, students will be going outside. There is not use of our gym right now. And so since students will be going outside, please dress them weather accordingly.
Yeah.
Yes, use the WeatherBug app. It actually is right attached to Grand Oaks building. So it is dead on accurate.
Yeah, and I'll send out more information to my class about specials. So I had not done that yet.
Well, we will let you all go. You guys have been the most
Easy.
wonderful, easy group ever. Please send us any questions that you may have and let us know please let us know if we're missing the mark on anything. It's really important for us to try to get this right because we know that this is a very hard time for students and parents. And so we want to try to make it as simple on you as possible. So please know from our end of things, we are fighting for simplicity and we are fighting for streamlining things as much as possible. We have had some conversations where we've said, hey, this isn't going to work for our families. And so please know we are advocates for you. So you just let us know what you all need. Thank you all so much. Have a great afternoon.
And happy
All right,
Halloween.
thank you.